wanted to introduce Wendy and Rob Freeman.
Yes.
Are you guys here to join us?
We're here.
Fantastic. Welcome. And I believe, Rob, you're in Florida right now and you're dodging hurricanes.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, David, for having us on this show on Manchu. And yes, we're leaving on Monday and the hurricane comes through on Tuesday. So fingers crossed that it doesn't come any sooner than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm in Ontario, so we're a long way away. So.
Well,
Okay.
welcome to the show.
Okay, welcome Wendy, Gallant, and Rob. We will just chat a while. After that, I will give the floor to both of you to explain. So for you, the panelists and attendees, this is Rob Freeman and Wendy Gallant. They are the what we call the blindfold seeing practitioners, right? The good thing, they found their own method, and this is a very, very interesting that they will share to us. Okay, David, do you have any question? After that, we can just bring the floor to Rob and Wendy.
Yeah, that's fine. So we can, yeah, Rob, if you'd like to start first, that'd be great.
Sure. Thanks, David. So for Wendy and I, it all started out with a friend of mine who actually lives in Australia, a good friend, Leonia Pelt. And she sent me a video of her grandchildren wearing blindfolds, seeing. They were playing games, hide and go seek, all kinds of things, and reading. And this video went on for 2 or 3 minutes. And I said to myself, this has to be a joke. And, you know, Leonie is a very funny person and she jokes around and has fun. She's a great person. And I thought it was a joke. But then I thought, why would she take 3 minutes to make a joke in a video like that? And I wrote her back and I said, is this true? Are your grandchildren really seeing, or are you putting me on? Is this a joke? And I said, because if it's true, I want to do it. She wrote me right back and she says, Rob, it's absolutely true. I've been teaching them to see blindfolded for some time now. So she said there's a person in Ottawa, Canada that teaches it. I talked to my friend Wendy here. We both went with 2 other people to Ottawa and we started into it. Now, the whole thing is that I was the only person that saw one color for the whole weekend. Yeah. Wendy didn't even see a thing except when I was practicing. So
it was interesting because when we went in for the training session, we were sitting there and the trainer looked at me and went, you won't be able to do it. You're too old. And so that was my first meeting with her. And when she told me that, I was like, okay, well, I didn't see anything the whole time for the training until later on in our bread and breakfast, correct?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I was practicing and Wendy was following along. It's good to do it with a partner. And Wendy was quietly following along. And all of a sudden, Marcus turned and held a color to Wendy and Wendy saw it. So that was great. We had a breakthrough. From there, Wendy and I started practicing on our own and doing a lot of research. And it really came down to getting totally relaxed and getting out of your left brain. And a lot of this is kind of like ideology or representations. And I don't know if it's exactly what's happening, but it's a good way the brain can understand it. The idea is to get out of the left brain, which is intellectual, ego, reasoning, logical, leave that behind and get into the right brain that is more empathic, it's more sensing and all those things. And Wendy, it wasn't long and we were starting to see colors. You started first. And let the viewers know how it actually started for you.
Well, we initially just started seeing colored sheets and we practiced with that and we got to know where the color was. It wasn't just boom, it was a color where it was and that. And then we went on and I'll never forget the first time Rob walked through, like we practiced all 3 times a week together. Rob would walk through and I'll never forget this. He said, do you see anything on this sheet of paper? And It was unbelievable. It was the number 5, and the number 5 formed in my mind. And that was the first time, like I was seeing colors, but it was the first time an actual letter, and it painted, like it just painted itself on, and it just blew my mind. Yeah.
It was pretty incredible. It was actually very emotional for both of us when that happened.
Yeah.
As much
Yeah.
for me as it was for you, as much for me
Yeah.
watching it, as much for you
Yeah.
experiencing it. So we went on to symbols, you know, triangles, squares, circles, pluses. We could see that. I even fooled you one day. I went out in the car. You thought I was nearby, and I drove down to the beach 1,000 feet away, and you could still see the stuff I was showing. You know,
I didn't know he drove away. I didn't know he drove away. He said, I'm going out to the car. He said, tell me what color I have on the dash of my car. And I was telling them colors while he's backing out of my driveway and driving down the street. And he didn't tell me that until he came back. So that just another one just kind of blew my mind. Yeah.
And we have it all on video. We record all this stuff. We've got a channel. There's a Facebook page, Learning to See Blindfolded, Rob Freeman and Wendy Gallant. We have YouTube channels. I think Wendy's is called Seeing Blindfolded Training. Wendy G, mine is Seeing Blindfolded Practice, Rob Freeman. We document everything we're doing. It's a journey. And, you know, many people are inspired because we're in our mid-60s and we shouldn't be able to do this. But we
By
are.
everyone else. Yeah. Everyone else says that our age can't do it. Yeah.
So how old were you guys when you first started?
Well, in my case, it was 3.5 years ago. So I was 64 at that time.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I'd be 63 at that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty incredible because it's really just quietening yourself down. And
We're trying to tell everyone that it's possible for anyone. Like the age that it's a little more difficult because the older you get, the more stuff you have in your mind, you know, work and everything. But if you can quieten it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And Wendy has lately been having several more things happen. Describe what's happening, Wendy. I get glimpses of it now and again, but you're having it happen even more.
Well, I think I know Masmanchu was talking about your consciousness and that, and when the COVID came along, we were practicing by Skype, and this one, it was wild for me. Rob directed me over to his house, directed me up to his stairs, directed me into his room where he was practicing, and he said to me, "I'm walking across the room and I'm holding a colored piece of paper. What is that color?" But me, I saw him walk across the room. My consciousness was there in his room, watching him go across. And I said, is the sheet orange? And he said, yes. And, but the color wasn't what got me. The thing that got me is that I was in his room. I saw him walk across.
Fantastic. You saw a lot more than you bargained for.
Well, yeah. And I
it.
now know, I've said this since we started this, because we've been doing it for so long that we're getting more and more and more, but I now know anything's possible.
Fantastic.